All right. No worries. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy. This is Nate. So we did a bunch of stuff around performance data, and I think we've been talking. I've like people have been super pumped to talk to me about this all week, which is really cool to see. So I just want to kind of lay out the types of data that we're talking about, and then we'll go into the things we did. So there's synthetic load and there's actual real production load. So one is like we just fake it and we hope it's going to tell us what is really going to happen in the real world. The other is the real world. And then there's stuff that we want to use internally for our own purposes. And then things that we actually want to expose to our customers to help them make their performance of their world better as well. So I won't go into the details. You can come back and stare at this slide at any point in time. But basically, for the top corner, we've built out a framework that lets us do synthetic load. We used that in order to be able to figure out where a lot of bottlenecks in our system have been. We're going to work on exposing some of that data to our customers. But for Hack Day, we wanted to focus on real production load and how we can kind of use that both internally and externally. So I'll do the internal part, and then Nate will bring the sexy with the external part. So sounds about right, right? So this is a tool we use called Honeycomb. Brian and Johnny did a lot of work to kind of get some of this into place. And so I just built on top of what they had already done. So when we look at, this is a query request that comes through, and you'll see the timing information over here. We see the plan job and the execute job coming through. And there's all these details over on the side of how long each small phase of that query run or execute run took as little attributes on here. But what we thought would be even fancier is if we could include all of this as spans across here and be able to visualize it. So here now is the new exciting version of it where you see I added in all of these timing spans that have those details that were just attributes on the side, and you can start to see, okay, here was the plan job. What were all the parts of it? Where did that timing break down? Where can we start to narrow in and figure out if something went wrong, can we do? So this is pulling, I mean, this is just off my laptop, but this would be pulling in actual loads of dashboards in our production system. So this is just, and then you see the execute job down below. So there's still a lot of work to be done. There's some of the like nesting and how it all wraps up well that still needs to be resolved, but gives us a much better picture of what's actually happening for a production load of a dashboard at the moment. I don't think that one's all that interesting. And then we have multi-tile needs to be worked out because once things start happening in parallel, parenthood gets very confusing. So that is the internal facing stuff. Nate?
Cool. Whoa. Okay, so while we were talking about this, we're coincidentally and very luckily at a table, and right next to us was Sarah. And she came over and was like, oh, I hear what you're talking about. I think I have mocks for this. I think I made them like a year ago. So that was pretty exciting and pretty inspirational, and a huge plug for doing more of these things because, I don't often get to sit next to basically anyone in this room. And I think those like virtuous coincidences are worth investing in. Yeah, so basically, without further ado, here's just like a regular dashboard. Now, here, I'll bump my font up. So now there's this new performance profile. Click that, and you get this little flyout. Gives you a little bit of metadata about the query, or rather the queries. So in this case, you can see all of the queries were cached. So they had 0 runtime in the customer's database. And you can see 5 of the 5 were cached, and then an approximate result size. And then if I run it without a cache, so we get a little bit more information. We can tile some of these based on some heuristics we have about which ones are running pretty quickly. And here's a little fake tile I created that just sleeps in the database for 30 seconds or so. And obviously is red because you don't want a query that runs for 30 seconds. Yeah, so that's it. And then I'll just show Sarah's mocks, which are much prettier than what I ended up building in a couple hours. But this is the aspirational, actual, what it'll look like.